Mic check, mic check. Hey, feels so beautiful, don't you agree? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, another episode of How Did We Get Here? I'm your host, Jay Carter. Got my mans that's always heard and never seen, Skeens.
What up?
Better than your average is the channel and the movement. The channel and the movement. How did we get here is the show. Got another hot topic for you guys, man. Something that me and Skeens been talking about for quite some time. Debating, sitting back. And so we wanted to get y'all's thoughts and opinions on this, man. And, let us know what you think, man. But we appreciate y'all for tuning in again. Again, as always, love, peace, and blessings to you and yours, man. Hope that everybody is happy and safe. But on a more serious note, man, I wanted to send out some condolences to some good friends of mine, man, that I grew up with, high school. And my man June Payne, we were graduated same year and everything. Me and June were pretty cool. Then later on, I became close with their little sister when she worked at Convergence with us, Tammy. And then also the older sister. Matter of fact, Skeens, when we had our first apartment with Techstar, Mia used to work at the rental spot. Then them jokers there, but
not gonna touch that whole.
But no, on all serious, then her and I became cool. Very cool later. But I just heard about the passing of their father, man. So I just wanted to send, again, just prayers to you guys. And again, we ain't just saying it by word. I really took some time today to think about the family and send some prayers up to the Most High, and just pray for the peace and comfort of your family. In the Bible it talks about that it would give a peace that surpasses all your understanding. So that's what my thoughts and prayers are for you guys, any other siblings that I may not know, and your mother, and the sisters and brothers and nieces and nephews, and just everybody that grew up with us that had the pleasure of knowing him. Again, as I told, just in a little quick post I sent to him, I didn't have the pleasure of knowing him personally, but just from, the great children that he raised, and when I would see the family events and the Christmas, pajamas, and, everybody dressed alike and all kind of stuff, I know you guys have an extremely, extremely tight family. So, again, our prayers and condolences go out to you. Love you guys, man. So, I want to give a shout out. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, no. All the people the people in Libya after that massive blast.
In Beirut.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Again, man, just stuff going on all around. I saw today that there was I didn't see if there was any injuries because, again, truth telling, I didn't look deep, but I saw that there was an earthquake in North Carolina. It's like a 5-point something.
It's crazy.
So anyway, just across the board, man, anybody that's lost any loved ones, man,
appreciate every day. Here today, gone today.
Here today, gone today. Not even tomorrow. You know what I'm saying, man? But, it's hard for us on this side to understand the transition. You know what I'm saying? So there is, it's okay to mourn and to have that time that you're going through dealing with the separation from this side. And, again, we just salute those that have transitioned, man, into the families. But anyway, wanted to get into our topic today. Skeens and I have been talking for a minute, and as we're sitting back and evaluating ourselves and kind of how we can push the movement forward for us and our people, we've been trying to look at the black experience in America as in its totality. And sometimes, Skeens, correct me if I'm wrong, what you think, man, but sometimes these ideas of America and treatment of blacks in America is so polarized that it's that you're on one side or the other. You're either CNN or you're Fox.
Yeah.
When in actuality, I would argue the point that it's a total experience.
Absolutely.
It's
60.
a 360. You got to have a full encompass, a 360 vision for how we're going to get to where we want to go.
Yeah.
So, we were looking at some information just again, and I look at stuff from both sides.
Yeah.
I'm looking at on the Republican side. I'm looking at it on the Democratic side. I'm looking at it from all perspectives, from different walks of life, and things of that nature. So
I can't talk about how great your cake is and want to make it without knowing the ingredients.
there you go. Absolutely. So we want to talk about kind of the ingredients of the cake, if you will. How did we get here as blacks in America? And a good deal of it, if we take it, let's go all the way back. And I know sometimes people don't want us to go all the way back, but like you say, in order for us to know how we got here, we got to know how we got here.
Yeah.
We got to acknowledge that. And where we're going to start is going to be, I know you hate it, it's going to be at slavery, because that the inception of this nation and our beginning in this country, it started with slavery.
Yeah.
We got to deal with that first. We got to acknowledge that first. We got to understand that first. And do those roots still run deep today? Absolutely.
Yeah. Still, everything, the whole mental damage that a lot of us face, are dealing with, is generational trauma.
Right. Yeah.
And I guess some would even say that it has become by way of DNA. How they're saying trauma can actually go from DNA,
Right.
Generational, just like you can inherit being an alcoholic.
Right. Yeah.
If you may have never taken a drink before, but your first drink,
Right.
you experienced all those symptoms.
Right.
So yeah, it is a lot of generational type situations that we have never unpacked. More of anything, I don't think that we understand where to begin.
Right.
And I think dealing with it, there's more fear with a lot of us in having to even have that uncomfortable conversation of how to deal with it. I think we mask a lot of that pain with a lot of bravado, buying of goods. We have to shine. We want to quote unquote stun on each other, or I got to shine on them, whatever it is. But a lot of it is hurt and feeling less than. You don't even know where it comes from, it come from.
Right. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's
still here, guys. And you think about it, and I'm not one of those full disclosure schemes. I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to sit here and say, while those roots are still here, is it the same as it was then?
No.
And some people will carry that narrative.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to believe in your heart of hearts that it's the same today as it was for a slave brought over to the country it's
not nowhere near the same.
Right. Now,
but it's still a lot of covert operation that take place.
It's not as overt as it was.
So
I remember in Eddie Murphy's stand up, he's like, it ain't as bad because they don't call niggas no more. But he said, I guess they don't say it when I'm around, so I wouldn't know. Something to that effect. You know what I'm saying? So it's not as blatant as it was at that time.
There's still a lot of undertone.
Absolutely.
Which, on both sides, I think there is a lot of psychiatric work needs to be done both in the African American community or the melanin community or the Caucasian community,
right?
Because you have to deal with it. If you are saying that you are the dominant, you have to deal with that psyche of being dominant or looking at someone as being less than, and that. Having that empowerment or that, what would you say? I have a form of I'm supposed to be better than you. You're supposed to be beneath me.
Right.
That mental train of thought needs to be cured, as well as when you talk about the melanin people, which is us, having to deal with not feeling that way, not feeling that I don't matter, that I don't measure up, and within that, though that feeling not measuring up, not just to the dominant society, but not measuring it up to yourself, not measuring it up within your household. Even we go back for slavery. When we go back and start talking about the Willie Lynch letter,
right?
1972. I mean, 1712. Sorry.
Yeah.
When Willie Lynch went to the colonies of Virginia, Willie Lynch was a slaveholder, was a slave master in West Africa.
Okay.
When he went to the colonies of Virginia, he basically told them about his doctrines and how he enslaved the blacks in this area, and he basically told them, "Hey, if you follow my doctrine, they would be enslaved for at least 300 years." So, which gets us to 2012. But he also said, if you continue those doctrines, you do it right, you install it the correct way, it could last thousands of years. Which in terms kind of plays in. We see some of that the brunt of that doctrine even today.
Right.
And a lot of us don't understand why we feel that way. So basically, part of his doctrine was to create a division between male and female, pitting the male against the woman, and vice versa, light skin against dark.
Yep.
That's why we have colorism right now.
Yep.
He pit the younger male against the older, and vice versa. Height was an issue.
Right.
Weight, education, or status on the plantation.
Right. He essentially installed a hierarchy. Now you think about it in how the manipulation of the mind. You have enslaved people, and then even within that substandard, quote unquote,
was a hierarchy.
There was a hierarchy.
Yeah.
So where you got people that are enslaved still pitted against one another, which was, you know what I'm saying, crazy. Yep. Y'all can, for those that haven't seen, and I've showed it to a number of people over the years, just Google Willie Lynch. Because
a lot of people will reference the Willie Lynch letter, but they've never read it,
or
even listen to the audio version of it. Yeah. It even talks about envy is stronger than respect and admiration. He talks about, what was that? Fear. In different things of how they broke us down, and it's crazy how they would basically they mainly focus on the women, because the women were the finances, because the women reprocreated, they had the offsprings, and the women were the one that trained the offspring to be subservient. They would make sure that they broke the male. They would look for the biggest and strongest male, and basically they would tie them to horses and have the horses pull different directions.
Right.
To actually put fear in of the whole community and let them know if it can be done to him who's your biggest and the strongest, it can be done to you.
Absolutely.
But it also cut away his power. You had buck breaking for people, and people can Google that as well. But a lot of it was to make sure the women was independent of the male.
Right.
But at the same time, the women were to train the boys to be subservient, but also remain physically strong. So they took the body, and they kept the body and took the mind from it.
Right.
They would do the exact opposite with the girls. They made sure that the girls were independent. What you see today, which a lot of black women, maybe one of the highest categories of most educated women, highest education. Yep. So those different things are trickling in. It has carried over into today. Right. When we look at those different things, and now when you go back and you see why a lot of men don't even really truly understand how to be a man to this fullest, because that definition, the true definition, was taken away from you way back when. Right. It's hard to look your woman in the eye and try to be a man after you've been buck broke.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Or you've been tarred and feathered and different, and been truly humiliated.
Snatched your manhood, essentially.
And because of that embarrassment, a lot of those men would take it out on their wives and kids.
Right.
But you also had a lot of those people that thought, which was backwards, Master loved me, and Master beats me. And his way of showing me that he loves me is him beating me, which in turn they took it into the household and did the same thing in that house.
Right.
So that beating became generational.
Right. A la, again, we joke about it in our community and, different things
Extension
like that.
cords.
Extension cords, Hot Wheel tracks.
Everything. You name it, if it can be picked up, it was used.
Right, yeah.
But a lot of us didn't understand what that did to the psyche of kids.
Right.
As well as the psyche of the abuser. Because you don't know why you're doing it. You're beating out of
learned behavior.
Learned behavior, but it's also out of anger.
Yep.
It wasn't really truly out of love you was doing because it was out of anger.
Right.
A lot of people never really took the time and understood or explained why it was done.
Right.
Or even communicated with the kid before that beating took place.
Right.
Of correction of the actions.
Right.
But yeah, it's crazy how those different things had carried over to us. But yeah, they made sure that the women truly looked to them because they wouldn't kill the women because that was their money. Yep. They need those women to continue to pump out.
They was cooking and taking care of the kids. They was sleeping with them. You know what I'm saying? Going down and knocking them down and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, you look at every president.
Yeah.
Have had slaves.
Yeah.
I'm back then. Yeah. We're tearing down different monuments and different things like that. If we're going to do that, we got to tear up the dollar. George Washington died. Right. He died with 307 slaves.
Right. Yeah.
Andrew Jackson had black kids, so on and so forth. So it was a continuation of trauma that those people had to deal with back then.
Yeah. And so as we take the trek, you guys, so again, we're trying to go all the way. How do we get here? Slavery. Then, you think, well, you guys been free. No.
Yeah.
It was
free-ish.
Yeah, it was free-ish or free-esque.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying? But you wasn't truly free.
Yeah. I mean, then we double out. Okay, let's move away from talking about the Willie Lynch letter. So now let's talk about after being free.
Right.
We was free 2.5 years before we realized we was truly free. Now that people are celebrating Juneteenth, which really is a backhand compliment.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're celebrating Juneteenth because we really finally realized we were free.
Right.
Now these people were free. They was not given any instruction, and because of that slave-like mentality, these people continue to work. Right. 2.5 years, continue to do the same thing day after day.
Were doing. Yeah.
Because it was learned behavior, as they talk about breaking the slaves, using it the same way how they would do horses, or even look at the circus, how they would train an elephant.
Right, and again,
as a little elephant, they had him chained to a stake.
Yes, and again, guys, we're talking about how does this translate to now? As Skeens is referring to, they were looking at blacks as humans, or 3/5 of. And here's another a funny thing. When we were in Italy in the 80s, and we stayed on the Italian economy. We stayed in an apartment on the economy in Italy, and they were asking my mom, like, straight up, and this is 1983, 84. You know what I'm saying? 85, whatever. Like, do y'all grow tails at midnight? That was like a thing, That was a thing that they thought. Again, y'all aren't human. Y'all actually like grow tails at a certain point at night.
The original Mormon book, actually talked about that.
You know what I'm saying?
I believe it's removed now, but that was one of the things they thought that we were.
Yep. So we take it from there.
Then we go to after being free.
Yep. We go Jim Crow.
Yep. Then we go Jim Crow. Then we say, right after being free, the prison institution started.
Yes,
which was a continuation of enslavement,
of slavery. All it was, because you could get as a black person, you could be picked up for the most minuscule thing, and they put you back into the system to continue to do the work.
Walking by the train tracks at a certain time. If you
allegedly whistling at a white woman, or you know,
doing, yeah, it's a multitude of different things that
Yes.
will cause a person to go back into the system.
being out at a certain time,
Because
you know.
being in prison, they say that is legal slavery.
Absolutely.
It's written in there that it is
Absolutely.
legal slavery.
Yeah.
So and then you start breaking down. You start talking about the lawmakers.
Yeah.
A lot of the lawmakers also own percentage of the institution.
Boom.
So now you look at it; it's a fixed fight.
Yes.
I make the law, but I also have a stake in the prison system. So I'm gonna write these laws to make sure that you fill my jails.
Yes.
So it's a win-win for me.
Absolutely.
It's a lose-lose for you either way it go. Then we start. Then we go from there. We start, as you're talking about. Let's talk about redlining. Redlining started in 1930 by FDR. He used it as a way to try to create finances in the United States.
Yep.
Within there, he had the green area, which were for white people. So on and so forth. You break down the different areas. Then the red area was for blacks. You had white people who were low class white people, or even middle, were being approved for houses before a high paid black family was. You had soldiers that went and fought in wars, came back, couldn't buy a house. So it's a lot of those different things that we were really not given an opportunity.
Right.
You look in Detroit, even right now in Detroit, 8 Mile, they have a 6-foot wall that was used to keep black people out of an area, because they thought if black people moved in that area, it would lower your property value, because they showed that a property that's owned by a black person in a certain area is 25% less valuable
Yes.
than that same exact house owned by a white family. Why is that? So it shows you that a lot of those different things were, even when people say pull yourself up by your bootstrap. I have no boots, because you
What
own
boots?
the.
Oh, you got boots? Oh, I didn't. I
Matter
don't
of
have
fact,
any.
I work to make the boots that you own,
There you go.
and put the money in your pocket that you continue to own those boots.
Right.
And I have none.
Right.
But you tell me to make it happen. How?
And even let's go to piggyback off that, how it continued even today. Right now, guys, if you look at, again, and we're coming out of the cloud and the fog of that idea. And we're not knocking education, of course. We love education, but the idea was always told to us, Skeens, go to school, get your education, you get a good job.
Absolutely.
But when you pull the stats, guys, an African American with a bachelor's degree, still over his lifetime, will make less than a white person without even a high school diploma.
Well, and you look at that, and a lot of people, as we talk about lack of wealth, a lot of us go to college and go in debt. Unless you had a scholarship, you had no money, because if you come from an impoverished area, or your parents didn't have the money to send you to college, you got to take out student loans.
Right.
Which now you're dealing with that more mental frustration, because I got tens of thousands, in some cases hundreds of thousands of student loans that I have to pay back. So I got to take a loan out just to go to school, just to be educated, and I'm not guaranteed a job.
No. And like they say, when you come out of college, you're trying to get a job, but they like, you have no experience.
No experience, but you didn't tell me that when I took out this loan.
Right. Absolutely.
And as well as a lot of those loans, people aren't really educated on that loan.
No.
Because that's something we've never really been educated in terms of finance.
No.
Which is
Cats just trying to go to school.
Something that we really need to be taught, and that's something that in terms of community empowerment, finance needs to be taught at a very early age.
Yeah.
Within the household.
Right.
It needs to be a mandatory curriculum. But the United States found off debt, and if everyone would become financially free, we would truly go into Great Depression.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Every fiat currency has crumbled.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, but even when you talk about, we're talking about like the redlining and things like that, and lack of money, it was finding banks. 2015, that was still practicing some of those same principles.
Right, and even when we go back, once we were free, guys, and you talk about the 40 acres and the mule, And the representation of the 40 acres and a mule, at that time represented land and a means by which that you could cultivate that land. And just like anything else, as we have talked about here, think about it right now, guys. If every freed slave would have been given 40 acres, what that does and establishes for your family that has the residuals to trickle down for generations.
Yep.
And generations.
Which is less than every slave owner was given. They was given hundreds of acres.
Right.
Some situations they was given thousands of acres.
Right. Absolutely.
When they came here.
Right.
So you telling me we can't get 40, but each slave owner was getting hundreds to thousands of acres?
Yes.
As well as when the slaves were released, you gave them money to be you gave them a pension for every slave that you basically paid them to free the slaves that they had.
Right. Right.
So I give you money. I give you land. Mm-hmm. We talk about the 40 acres and a mule.
Yes, sir.
I have slaves to cultivate that land, which make you money. And then when they leave, I give you more money. Hence, us getting 40 acres and a mule is the least that could be done.
Right. And the other thing you got to think about, guys, is as successful businessmen and women do, as the market changes and diversifies, they typically change and diversify as well.
Yeah.
So if the mean of exchange or the hot currency at that time or the hot business at the time was slave ownership, right? And again, here's the other thing. We got to think about it. Owning slaves was expensive. So it ain't like just your average white folks had slaves, because I think some people think that. Like just everybody will be like, hey, you got a slave, No, it wasn't. There was more people that had money.
But your return on investment was more than worth it.
So you got to think, as slavery was abolished and outlawed, all they did was diversify. Yeah. So that's how that still can trickle down, because they diversified into railroads, into banks, and then so on and so forth to where we are today.
But even when you talk about the slaves, owning slaves did come with a cost.
Right.
But it was also, like you said, it was beneficial. But you also got to think the food that the slaves ate were the leftovers.
Oh yeah, it wasn't the.
So it wasn't like it wasn't like you was spending money to feed them.
Right. Yeah.
You gave them the leftovers of the pigs or the cows, which in turn became soul food.
Yeah, corn mush, all that kind of stuff they used to.
So it was a leftover. It was basically the trash.
Right.
Fend for yourself. Make it happen how you make it happen.
Right. Yep.
So that same food that we had, which was basically trash, is the same food that's killing us now.
Yes. And then let's spin it again. Let's go forward. We come out of that.
Side note: when you talk about soul food and how it kills us,
right?
What was the movie? Soul food. What killed Big Mama? Soul food.
What would they keep eating?
Soul food. How did they mourn Big Mama? Soul food.
Again, we got to change what we're getting to. At some point, we'll talk about how we got to change our thinking and our way of movement. But we come from slavery. Again, we come to the police state. We go into Jim Crow South. Yeah. Then we talk about redlining. Then we go to civil rights era.
Well, before that, somewhere in there. Then we go to just say no to drugs.
Yeah, yeah.
When you had the whole Ricky Ross era.
Yes, Mr. Reagan.
Yeah,
yeah,
Reagan.
Yeah. So we go to the just say to no to drugs to when essentially, guys,
between 82 to 89.
While they were saying just say no to drugs, America was funding and making sure that drugs were making it into the inner city community. Then we take that into the mass incarceration era.
Even before we talk about before we get to mass incarceration, think about what crack did to the black community.
Right.
Crack even infiltrated the Black Panthers.
Yes. Talk about it. Yes.
So we start talking about how the impact of that drug did. You had people selling their kids, literally. Selling their kids.
Yes.
For that drug. So you say Rick Ross between 1982 to 89, they say he estimated sold $900 million worth of, which is basically equivalent to 2.8 today. almost $3 billion.
Right. Yep.
That's a lot of dope to be moved,
Yep.
and by way of our government. So part of that whole Iran contraband, when Rick Ross got caught, they did. He couldn't read or write.
Right.
So basically, you took advantage of him, which you can also say, hey, he shouldn't have been doing it also, but he was ignorant. He was ignorant.
Yes.
So you took advantage of him. He learned how to read and write in jail.
When he was locked up. Yeah.
So when they started looking up the paperwork and started looking and seeing who was involved, I think Robert McFarlane was the CIA operative that he was dealing with. You had Oliver North. You had some other people. You had like 4 or 5 contractors, other CIA members. Everybody went to jail but FDR. I mean, sorry, not FDR, but
yes,
but Reagan.
Reagan, yes, Ronald Reagan. Yep.
And as much, and for all the pain that was caused, Rick Ross was the face. That we had to have that black face,
absolutely,
as that devil. As even when they had the little girls did the doll test, when they had the black girl choose between the white and black doll, she picked the white doll. Because a lot of that is suggested messages.
Yep, absolutely.
And to show you the angel food cake is the white one.
Yes, devil's food.
Devil food is the dark one. So it plays on the psyche.
It does, absolutely.
And subconsciously, you start making those same. You start having those same biases towards each other.
Yep.
When you may see a black woman clench her purse when she see a black kid walk by. It's a lot of suggested messages.
Yeah, you do it to your own. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So you start trying to figure out where is that thing? Why do I feel that way? Why do I feel animosity towards my own people? And for a lot of people, you can't explain why.
Right.
So yeah, that's a lot that we do have to unpack and deal with. We've never really dealt with it.
We haven't. No, we haven't. We haven't unpacked it all fully. Yeah. We won't do it here in this episode, but we want to get the wheels turning as to, again, why is it that we have, why are the blacks still talking about it? This doesn't end overnight.
No.
And it's no different than, and two great examples of it. And where we at? We like 32 minutes in. So 2 great examples to illustrate is the guy when he had the black and white, all different colored kids standing in a field. And as he was standing at the end, and he was naming out different things that moved you up in the field. Moved you up, moved you up, moved you up. And once he stopped saying these different commands and things, it was illustrating that the blacks were in the rear because they haven't had these advantages. And the other young lady, she was very, it was a great talk that she gave, but she was basically saying, like, the game of Monopoly, let's say for 50 turns in the game, and y'all know how the game Monopoly, as you go around, your pass to go, you're not collecting your $200. You're not allowed to buy property, redlining, all of these things for 50 times around. You're not going to win at that game. And just for the mere fact that now on turn 51, I'm going to start let you collect. You're too far behind.
Absolutely.
They have the money, they have the property, they have the business.
And every land anywhere you land on is a land that's owned that you have to pay.
Boom. Come on.
So you're putting money in their pocket to continue to. So you're really furthering their generational wealth.
Right.
Why diminishing yours?
Right.
Because redlining didn't end until what was that? Officially. Right. Oh, I can't think of what year. 1962.
Okay. Right.
I'm talking our parents were kids.
Yes.
So redlining was between 1934 to 62.
Just think about that in the span of time for our parents to be alive. This was something.
62. I mean, you think about it. That's not that long ago.
No, it's not that long ago.
So basically, in that point, during that period, they passed $120 billion worth of loans. Less than 2% were given to minorities.
Right.
So think about it. As you talk about the monopoly,
Right.
there's nowhere that you, even if you qualify, you still can't have it.
Right.
It's mine. And you still got to pay me for it.
Right. Right. And what blacks are trying to do, and what we've been crying and shouting and dying for,
Opportunity.
equal
Equal.
opportunity. And without the people that are in the dominant society that have the money, the land, the wealth, et cetera, without you coming forth on my behalf, I'm going to stay where I am.
And then you have some people that say, "Well, I didn't do it. My grandparents did."
Right.
Well, why should I have to? Well, you're still benefiting from it.
Right.
You directly, indirectly, you benefited from it. Whether whether it was yours, because I know I talk to some people. It's crazy. Sometimes I'll be at work and I talk to different people about businesses and different things, and people are like, "Yes, this business been in our family for 100 years, so many generations." And I applaud, like, "Yo, that's cool. It's been in the family, y'all. The family passing that legacy on to the next one." But then also think about later on, it's like, hold on, we didn't have that opportunity.
No.
And chances are, depending on how big of a business it was, we were cultivating that business.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, which in terms, yeah, you benefited from it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah, it's a lot of situations to unpack. Yep. And like I said, we're not asking for, hey, just do this for me. We want an opportunity to be able to even playing field.
And we just want to showcase what we can do on an even playing field.
That's it.
I don't want nothing extra. I just want to be level with you. And here's the other thing. I don't think I'm better than you. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't, because, and that's another thing that we'll talk about too, is that because I'm prideful as a black man doesn't mean that I have to hate or think I'm better than somebody else. Because I hate when people are that same way towards me.
Yeah, well,
I can't go back with that same.
Look at it this way. If I'm applying for a job,
right,
me saying that I take pride and I think I deserve the job, don't mean that I'm saying you
right.
suck
or
I'm pro myself.
Right, there you go.
Not meaning that I'm hating you.
Yeah,
I want the job.
Yeah,
I need the job just as much as you do.
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to say, hey man, Sue's better than mine. He can have the job.
Right.
No, I came here. If I qualify and I'm the best candidate, that's what it is.
Right.
Point blank. Period.
Yeah. So this is just a quick, guys. For some that just wonder, why this is kind of, and this is we just scratching the surface on. I mean, we could go so deep into each kind of era of the black experience in the United States and spend episodes and episodes on it.
And no more as the talking points of giving money to minority causes. We need receipts. We need tangible situation that this money is going to the hands of the community, not reforming programs for no. If you messed up, you did bad by your money that you had a head start on to get these different programs, that's your fault. You take your money and do it yourself. But if you're saying you're donating money to the minority causes, put money into the pockets or the hands of the community.
Right. And we don't want no proprietary blends, y'all. If you look at supplements and stuff, people, sometimes they have a proprietary blend, which means you don't know exactly how much of anything. No, we want the specifics.
What if I say, hey, man, I got you. I'm gonna get you something to eat.
Right.
I may be allergic to that food.
Right. I need to know what this is. Hold on.
Let me make my choices.
Right.
Good or bad, let me fall on the sword.
Absolutely.
But empower me to be able to empower myself and empower my community. Don't tell me, because you look at the money that's been raised since the George Floyd situation. I can probably say there's probably been over $1 billion that's been raised by these different funds. People donating $100 million here, $200 million here. Where is this money going to tangibly? Is this money being used to help minority families buy a house, get out of debt, pay for college? Black-owned banks. It costs about $1 million to own a bank. Are we establishing black-owned banks? Credit unions. anywhere from 100,000 to 500,000. Are we doing anything that's going to directly empower our community?
Yep.
Are we spending that money on
Schools.
mental health?
Mental health, schools, charter schools,
Where's the money going?
after school program, lunch program.
Don't tell me that the money is going for the talking. Oh, the minority programs or diversity program. What does that really mean?
Does that mean?
It sounds good to the naked eye. Oh, they're coming to the table with money, but what is that money really being used for? And at the end of the day, what's the positive impact that will come from it? Mm-hmm. Can we years from now say, hey, this whole city was revised because of that money,
Right.
or this movement? Have the death total went down because of this? Have we, have they got rid of Rikers Island? Per the documentary, how you had people that was locked up for years because these guys didn't have money to bail out. They took charges to get out of jail.
Yep.
Because they didn't have money to bail out.
They didn't have money to get proper representation.
So, are we creating proper representation? Creating wealth opportunities? Are we teaching coding?
Yes.
Are we teaching entrepreneurship?
Yes. Are we teaching basic finance classes?
Yes. What public speaking? I mean, everybody behind the keyboard, and it's easy to the keyboard and talk to a female, or keyboard to be a gangster, or keyboard and do. Can I stand in front of a person and look them in the eye and have a real conversation? Can I stand in front of a company, in front of a crowd, if I'm trying to sell my business, like on Shark Tank? Can I stand there and be a man and look you in your, or a woman, and look you in your eye and actually really sell my product or sell myself?
Right. Absolutely.
We need tangible goods.
These are skills that we need. We gotta take what we need as black people is to take it back to, again, the bottom of what it takes to live in this country.
Yeah.
And build up the black family. Build it up. Build up the black family is what we're trying to do.
But we first must have a sturdy
foundation. Must be sturdy.
As we talk about, you can't build a house on quicksand and expect the house to stay up.
You cannot. So this is just a brief overview of something. I know some of y'all, we know. We know. But we're going somewhere on the how did we get here experience. Somewhere.
This is the ingredients. We talked about the cake.
Right.
This is the ingredients.
This is the how did we get here, in this country, and how it can still have effect on us today. So we're going to come back with a part 2 of this episode, where we're kind of talking about the totality of this thing. We want to look at it from the other side of things, and some of the things that we can do on our side within our community to put ourselves in a more advantageous position. But again, I'm your boy Jay Carter, my man Skeens. We'll see y'all next time on the next one. How did we get here?